Hello and great morning. This is your boy Dragon, and welcome to another Rise Up with Dragon. As a reminder, because we forget things, it's the goal of this podcast to remove the blindfolds of your mind so that you can gain access to higher levels of consciousness and tap into your true great potential. How do we do this? We do this with our podcast, we meaning Dragon, the team, and all of the multiple personalities. We do this with our podcast weekly blog called The Dragon's Lair, One from the Vault. That's our newsletter. And I hope that you guys are enjoying that. And our upcoming online courses and books. Welcome to another edition of Rise Up with Dragon.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
What's up, everybody? Very, very blessed and excited about this Monday morning. We're recording this on the last day of February. Interesting how that's spelled. February 2022. Got a couple of quick thoughts, but today's episode is called Forecasting, and you're going to love it. It's really, really cool, and I'm very excited to deliver it to you in a very short time span. But as a quick reminder, the Rise Up with Dragon podcast is sponsored by none other than Karma Mind.
Get into the float state with Calm Mind meditations and gear.
So before we get into today's Rise Up and the forecasting, just quickly, it's interesting because I teach a lot of this concept of the interface response system, which is really just about sitting in the pocket between the things that happen and your response and gathering a more efficient and effective response, a more logical and rational future state supportive response. And you'd think that a guy that teaches this stuff and writes about it, and you're going to love the book, would be a master at it. And I was just realizing today that I'm a master at practicing it because, this morning, just unbelievable, the sequence of events. And I'm coming to you from a comical place above the line. I take full responsibility for my life. But Chicken and I went and got new iPhones yesterday. And then just a cascade of things happened where my contacts didn't come in, my phone doesn't work, and all of these things, So the first insight that I want to offer you today is that, it's like, don't know what you got till it's gone. It's unbelievable. You think that it's a strong thing or a big task to like not use your phone for a day. If your phone is not working, you realize in that moment how just dependent we are on technology. So that's one gift I want to give you. And what's funny is I had to sit in the pocket there and say, is this happening to me or is it happening for me? Is there a lesson? Does it really matter? What am I in control of? So I went through all the steps and it worked. But then what's interesting is just as I was starting the podcast today, as if I hadn't been through enough with the phone thing, which I'm still going through, I noticed that there's all of a sudden there's construction going on in our building, but it's not going on just in our building. It's going on in the roof right above my podcast studio. Just this loud sound. And I just said, this is awesome. I'm going to just really, really practice my skills here. And guess what? It stopped 1 minute before I went live. So to all of you that are struggling, I say congratulations, because growth takes place out of the comfort zone. The obstacle's the way. God only prunes the branches that he wants to see grow. But I just encourage you to just really practice, what I call the interface response system and just really sit in the pocket in between what's happening and your response and just think it through for a second. And you'll just recognize that most everything doesn't actually matter. So let's get into forecasting real quick. So the idea of forecasting, you know what forecast means, right? So the question is, what is your forecast as you look forward, and how do you base it? So we all know forecasting based on weathermen and weatherwomen. So we all know that weather reports that we get, as Daniel Kahneman, I'm reading this new book, Noise, weather reports that we get, partly cloudy, snow coming, and all that stuff, as Daniel Kahneman says, are noisy, meaning they're a bit all over the place, right? Have you ever had a weather report that's, predicting or forecasting snow and then it doesn't snow? Or, there's a big storm coming and you get all excited about like having a hall pass to do nothing and it doesn't happen. So there's a reason for that. The reason for this has actually little to do with the individual delivering it, meaning their judgment and maybe their bias to what they want or what they think. Weather reporters use a system and a structure to predict the forecast. They actually have a system. They all use the same thing. So that's why you'll see most of them will forecast the same thing. So it just so happens that this system that they use is often unpredictable. Such is life, often unpredictable. Therefore, their forecasts are often inaccurate. So it's going to snow 2 feet tomorrow. We all get all, excited about it, and there's just a dusting. So you've been through that. Now, let's look at you and I. We make forecasts, don't we? Right? We're always trying to kind of predict the future. We get excited about the future. We get worried about the future. So there's a gift right there. We have the ability to forecast the future, whether we think it's going to be good or bad, but we make forecasts. We talk a lot about the dangers of living in the past and in the future on this podcast, as they are the culprit very often for us missing the present moment. This is a big, big thing. That's another part of the interface response system, is when you detach from the thing that's happening and your response and you sit in that pocket, you're in the present moment. And that's what I love about the present moment is it focuses on the things that I have rather than I have not or I've lost. So so that's all we've got. So, however, we also often mention the value of knowing where you want to go in life. We get into goal setting. So there's so much value in setting goals and knowing where you want to go in your life. And it's a value to you to really look at the things that predict or leverage the future and start minimizing anything or anyone that you allow into your space. We talk a lot about consuming and into your space and time, only to the things that are in support and that leverage your desired state. So that's why it's important to look at the future and set goals, because only then can you assess your current reality and you decide what it is that you want to minimize or maximize, right? So like the weatherman, we do forecast or predict our future, right? So if I do a goal setting, and I'm very big on goal setting, determining what I want and why, but we do predict the future sort of when we're doing goal setting based on a system and structure. Now, look at our system and structure. That system and structure is basically an assessment of how well we are leveraging the said goal into existence based on our daily actions. Here's the little gift that I'm giving you. When we make a forecast, we're making that forecast based on, or we should be based on, our actual action. Now, sometimes we actually make a forecast based on hopes and dreams. We'll pray for a forecast, but try it out. Take a look right now at your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And those are 3 things. I always try to go 3 for 3 in my life, meaning I get my thoughts, feelings, and actions in alignment. But look at your thoughts, feelings, and actions today that you see happening with consistency in your life. So I want you to base your forecast on this. This is an empowering thing to do. What's your forecast for your health? Now, how would you know that? What are you eating and how are you moving? What's the forecast for your financial security? What's the structure of how you make money and how hard are you working? Okay. Your marriage, how hard are you working at your relationships or your relationships with your kids, etc. Now, the weatherman sees what he sees and predicts, whether he likes it or not. But is that what you do? Or are you using a different system of predicting the future by assuming that you don't have to look at what you're actually doing and you can predict a different future? But you do get a choice. See, unlike the weatherman, we get a choice. So if you consciously predict your forecast and don't like it due to a lack of, if you look at your forecast and you don't like what you see, well, guess what? All you have to do is change what you're doing. This is a big, this concept of forecasting is, if you're really being honest with yourself, look at the actual things that you're thinking, saying, and doing, and make your forecast based on that. Because if you're sitting around not doing anything and just kind of like hoping and praying that your future physical, mental, and financial well being is going to come into play, well, guess what? It's not. It's not. And you're unconscious to the fact that you're not doing anything right now. But unlike the weatherman, right? All you have to do is completely change and you can start today, change the way you think, turn off, control what you consume, turn off the news, for instance, get into action with a program like ours, get into physical, hang out with the right people, get rid of the wrong people. And then all of a sudden look at that and practice that with consistency and create your forecast based on that. You can manipulate your forecast. You can manipulate your forecast to your desired taste. Now, the weatherman can't do that. The weatherman can't change his structure and system and say, now it's going to snow. But you know what? You can. You can actually make it snow tomorrow, proverbially, whatever that means to you. So let's see. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions, are very, very important. So they can't change it, but we can. And that's my gift today. I'm going to end it because I don't want to go over the 10. But when I look at my future state, I'm smart to assess my future state and forecast it based on what I'm doing. And if I don't like after that exercise what I see, well, then all I have to do is change my forecast by changing what I'm doing. Hey, what an amazing day for me to practice my stuff. Just so many obstacles still happening right now, but I'm sitting in the pocket between them happening and how I'm going to respond to them, and just recognizing how dependent we are on technology. And I'm just sitting in this space right now between me and you in this space together. And I'm just recognizing that we have everything that we need to proceed and succeed in life. So my pleasure to be here today. This has been Forecasting. As a reminder, we launched our new NFTs Made Simple podcast, which is awesome. It's just blowing up already. So if you want to learn about cryptocurrency and NFTs in a funny, Mark and Dragon way, go check that out. It's on all the platforms. Please leave us a rating and review for this podcast and that. We're going to take people into a very, very exciting space, but in a very, very psychologically safe way. So love and appreciate you all. Have an amazing day, and I'll let you know how the rest of the day pans out.